Oh, just had to push my button. So, 6 p.m. I'll call the work session for the Franklin City Council to order for Monday, March 10th. As for should we wait till the general meeting before we do the Pledge of Allegiance and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
This is just doing the call to order for.
Okay.
For this.
Okay. Call for the, Ms. Babb, Treasurer, if you'd like to come forward and your report in your agenda.
Guess I need to bring this down a little bit lower. Can y'all all hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. She said you didn't want to put it up there. Okay. They have it on their things. Do you?
Okay, I mean, she did have a PowerPoint, I guess they put it in the package.
It
It will
is.
be displayed.
Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Kaplan, Vice Mayor Copeland, members of council, City Manager Ms. Oglesby, and City Attorney. I come before you tonight for my annual report that I have done in the past. Several of you are new to this, but each year I come to council and I bring I do a presentation for what we have delinquent on the books for the city. If you will, in your presentation, you will find the PowerPoint presentation, the annual delinquent taxes. Then I have personal property where I am required to charge off 2017 personal property. And then we have started over the last couple of years, starting to go through the deceased accounts that we no longer have, and we charge those off as well. So if you'll turn to your PowerPoint presentation. This isn't really big enough for everything. So I'm going to go over that. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but the delinquent taxes for the city of Franklin as of December the 31st, 2024 is $496,120.50. This reflects tax year 2022 and older. The last collection was November the 30th of 2023, and at that time we had $513,377.49. So we have decreased our delinquency by $17,256.99, along with adding another full year of delinquencies of
So
2022.
that's money that's been paid into we've caught that much up. It's not what's been written off, is that right?
Right, exactly. So I'm going to go over each item. Real estate for December the 31st, 2024, we had $119,037.57 in real estate. Of that delinquent, and that is for 2003 to 2022. So of that, we have 40 residentials, 5 multifamilies, 17 commercials, which is a total of 62 properties. I have a cumulative collection rate for that tax year as a 99.76 collection rate for the city. Through the year, we have the ability to utilize various collection tools. I typically use payment plans. That's one of my first things I like to do with my delinquent taxpayers. We reach out, we let them know that they can put themselves on a payment plan. We also use the Virginia Employment Commission. That is where we can go in and we can do a wage lien against their payroll until we can catch them back up. The state code allows me to do that, and that is 58.1.3919. Right now, I have about 8 on a wage lien that we are getting that money on a weekly, sometimes a monthly basis. It depends on how their company sends it to us. I have about 10 on a payment plan. I'd like to have more because I'd like to be able to do payment plans versus collection actions against them. Many of you are, some of you are new, so I'm kind of giving you a little more synopsis of how I do my job. If they become over 2 years delinquent in their real estate taxes and they do not want to work with me as a whole, I have the authority to send them to a tax attorney. So right now, I utilize Jason Dunn out of Virginia Beach. He has been working with me since 2011. He has helped me collect a lot of taxes from our citizens. His first goal, him and I worked out arrangements, and him and I start with a payment plan. He also allows them to enter in with him a payment plan. If that does not happen, then our last result is we have the authority to sell the property. I didn't have a tax sale this year.
Question. Mr. Dunn, he is the attorney for your office?
He is my tax attorney. I have another attorney that I use with the Treasurers Association of Virginia for legal advice, but he is my tax attorney, so I utilize him for taxes that have not been paid to.
For collections of taxes.
Collection of taxes.
Is that normal expense for a municipality to have two more attorneys that do legal business on behalf of the city?
So we do not pay Mr. Dunn. His fee comes from when I turn over taxes that are not collectible within my office. The state code allows Mr. Dunn to charge his fees plus 20%. And that is in the state code 58.13965.
Who pays that?
The citizens. That's why it's always a good idea for them to come to me, and we explain that to them. That can save them monies.
You mean the delinquent citizen?
The delinquent citizen, the city does not pay him a fee.
Should be on-
His fee comes from the 20% and any fees that he's associated with that sale.
So all of his fees are collected directly from the taxpayer, not.
Correct.
It's not lost money to the city.
Absolutely not. And my treasurer's attorney is through the association, and that is also paid through my association.
Thank you.
Okay. So right now, I have about 18 properties that Mr. Dunn is working with. So I did not have a tax sale last year. I had 2 that were eligible for it, but prior to it going to the sale, they were paid out, whether they refinanced or how. We don't get into the details of how they paid it. We received the money from Mr. Dunn, and then they become cleared up.
Okay.
So it kind of explained a little bit about prior. We do a lot of work before we even send it to Mr. Dunn.
So the taxpayer could save considerable amount of money
Absolutely.
if they'd set up a payment plan through your office instead of through Mr. Dunn.
Absolutely. And we try to tell them that. So the last resort on my office, before sending them to Mr. Dunn, is we do the due diligence.
And they get that in writing?
When
Do
I
they
send
get
it,
that?
they don't really have, I don't have to give it to them in writing. A lot of it can be, verbal.
Okay.
They all know that when they come in, if they are not willing to set up a payment plan, or if they've gone and entered into a payment plan with me and they choose not to adhere to the plan, we call them in. I call them and say, you have one last time. And then if it's not taken care of, then I'm going to be forced to send it to Mr. Dunn. Once Mr. Dunn receives the file, he then works with them through a payment plan as well. So we give the citizen, we want to keep them in their homes. We don't want to take and sell homes. That's a lot to do, and it's unfortunate for that homeowner when they put all their time and effort, but we do have to bring the revenue into the city. Like I said, I didn't have any sales last year because they were paid out prior to them finalizing the sale. Let's see. We did have prior sales in 2022, if you'll read up. Any sales that are having a surplus from that sale will go to the clerk of court. That it stays in the clerk's hands for 2 years if no one requests those surplus funds, like a mortgage company or the homeowner. They stay in the court. They have to go to court to get that money. But if they don't, then at the end of the 2 years, the clerk of court is bound to have to send that to the city. And we received $37,718.90 from the clerk last year. And for 2023, I usually like to give that little, because I'm not required to do that report, but I like for you all to know just what we're doing. But of 2023, we had $6 million budgeted for the real estate. And right now, as of the December the 31st, we have only about $110,485 that is still left owing to the city for that tax year.
Connie, do you have any idea what the average across the state is on collection?
I'll get to a little bit of that
Okay,
in a few minutes.
That's fine.
So personal property, this is my nightmare. I can't say it's my nightmare, but it is, personal property is vehicles, and it's moving, so it's a moving target. It's not like a house that sits there and we get to, go after it. Cars are moving in, moving out, driving in, driving out. It's a constant moving. So as you remember, the last couple of years, the value of vehicles have really skyrocketed. So I do contribute some of the unpaid, the higher part than it used to be in years past. Than what it is now. It's $344,660.20 in unpaid personal property. That is for tax year 17 to 2022.
Cumulative.
Cumulative, yes. And so my collection rate for that is 97.3. It's still a good tax collection rate, but I'd like to see it a little bit better. The office, we have a lot of tools that we can use for personal property. DMV stops. I think I've explained that, but since we have a couple of new ones, I'm going to explain DMV stops. If you have a unpaid personal property or a parking ticket, we can go into the DMV website, put a stop on it. That stop does not allow that taxpayer who has his cars registered in the state to be able to get his license renewed or have his license, driver's license renewed until they come. It's in the system, and that we have a stop on it. And so they have to come and pay us. We go back into the site, we release the stop, and then they can go back into DMV and get their license renewed. It's one of the better things that we have. We also are allowed to use the debt set-off program. Debt set-off is when you file your state income tax refund, and you get a refund, we can put a hold on your refund. Your refund will then come to the city for paying your taxes. There's a statute of limitations. So we are required by law to charge off anything that is over 5 years delinquency. So I'll be coming to you in a little bit later of the time and telling you what I'm going to have to be charging off required by the state. And that is 58.13040. I've put some of these state codes in there for you guys, so you'll know that the authority is just not something that I take, lightly. It is required to me to do my job. The Commissioner of the Revenue and I have been working really for the last 2 years on going through our deceased file. Ms. Boone has assisted me. She's able to pull the file. It helps her office. It helps my office. So we're not charging off, adding another year, charging off, adding another year. So if she finds out that they are deceased, she goes into her record file, pulls the obituaries, attaches the obituaries to the system, and then she takes them off the books, no longer charging them. What I'm doing is charging them off so that we kind of mirror together. We're not adding new ones, and we're just charging off. You can give it to Ms. Boone. She has to go and do research and make sure that they are, she has the obituaries. Now, there is a deceased file too, okay, that you will get to a little bit later. The business license, we have 7 business licenses that are delinquent for the total of $6,685. One of those businesses closed and is no longer in the area, and I've turned that business over to my attorney to do a collection for. If we do not, he's filed a judgment. If we cannot get any of that money when the time comes and the statute of limitations, it'll require me to charge that one off too. Most of the businesses we work with, you have to have a valid business license to keep your business open. So we are constantly visiting and also making phone calls to these businesses. Most of them see me coming in there. They know something's up. Meals and lodging. Right now, we have currently delinquent meals taxes of about $25,737.24. 2 of those businesses closed last year, but they still have to stay on my books because they're not eligible for me to charge off. I have turned those over to Mr. Dunn. We have filed a judgment against them, and our next step is to file a civil claim against them, and then they could go to jail for this. Meals tax is a fiduciary account. They're to collect this money and be held in trust until it is time for them to send it to the office. When they don't do that, that is considered embezzlement. They're using funds for other purposes than what it is collected for. If you think about it, when you go into a restaurant, you pay sales tax, but you also pay your meals tax. That meals tax is not to be used for anything but to be sent back to the locality at the appropriate time. When it's not, then it is my job to make sure that I go and collect it. And right now, we have no lodging taxes delinquent, thank goodness. So if you flip to the page of historical data, I've given you some historical data. This is when I took back the office in 2010. I started doing a historical data for you all, and you can see how it fluctuates from year to year. And the page.
It's bid as high as 1.5.
Yes.
And it's as
Right.
little under 500,000
Right.
now.
And if you the next page is just a line graph that I just showed you so you can visualize how the graph works. So on the additional information, as you can see, I've also put all the act tools that the Treasurer's Office can utilize based on what 58.1 allows the Treasurer to use. These are not always limited to anytime we have training in our association. You know, we're always looking for new ways of collecting. So I put a few of these in there for you to kind of get an idea of what we do in our office. Unclaimed property was a great tool, but the Department of Treasury kind of put a halt on us from that. We have fought them, and we have just won, so we are now going to be able to go back and put claims against the unclaimed property. Unclaimed property is money that has been sent to you or to a taxpayer or a person that they did not either cash. It could be an insurance refund. It could be a check that they lost. Once it becomes typically over 5 years, it goes to unclaimed. If any of you have been listening to the news, I think it was like $3-point-something billion is sitting in unclaimed. 4 or 5 years ago, let's see, Ms. Boone was working for me at that time. Based on how we did our unclaimed properties actions, she was able to bring $68,000 back to the locality. That we take that money and we put it to their taxes. It's not money just coming to us. It actually helps that citizen because it's less money that they owe us, but it's also money coming back to the locality.
I have 14 cents in that account. I refuse to.
Yeah, it's not
It's
worth
truth,
it.
it's-
Yeah. I
Been there
gave
for
you a
years.
little of the collection tools history. So it told you how many submissions of DMV stops, how many were good, and then how many we actually removed. That meant 398 people paid their taxes, and we released their DMV stop. A lot of times it's the same people. The next year, we just put the stop back on. We had 1,353 payments for a total of $268,877 in debt set-off. We put 125 garnishments on, and I didn't have a tax sale, and we had 8 properties that went this year back to the attorney. So the final page is treasurer's news. I'm just reinstating the real estate, I'm at 99.76. Personal property is 97.31. Where you asked the question of what is the local across the state, for us to be our office accreditations, and I am proud to say that I have completed the office accreditations for the 11th year in the row. So to do that, we have to keep a 95 or better real estate. And so we probably have the majority of our treasurers that have certified as the Office of Accreditation. Personal property is a little bit less because of the way properties move around, and that has to be 90%. So I can honestly say I'm proud to be able to have been able to keep my certification and my office accreditation. It's not just about me as the treasurer, it's about my entire team. We are required to do certain things and show proof of what we've done in the office. We are audited by the association. We have a team that audits us along with the compensation board. They do audit us as well as the state. So we're not just local audits, we are state audited as well, 3 different ways.
So it's actually 4 audits for your office?
Yes.
That's probably good.
So when we get an office accreditation, I'm very proud to put that plaque up on my office. Last year, several of you are new, but I received the 2024 Commonwealth Award from the association, the Treasurers Association of Virginia. It's one of the higher awards that are not given out, and I was very honored, humbled and honored to have received that from my association. This presentation also it's not me, it's my staff. I have a great team. They are dedicated to this city. Even if they don't live in the city, they're very dedicated to the city, and they know their jobs. So, whenever you see one of my team members, please say thank you for what they do, because like I said, I'm constantly thanking them, but sometimes it's nice to hear thank yous from someone else other than me. Something new to the city is investments. So I'm going to give you a little brief. The city has not been doing investments for several years. I'm not even sure when they were not. But when interim city manager Bertram came and we started talking about them, she got me back into where I can do the investments for the city. So I've taken on that task, and I have been investing for the last few months. And right now I have about $15 million of idled money. Idled money, so you'll know what it is. It's money that I see and have projected. I work with the finance director, and monies that I know that we're not going to use for 3 to 4 months for any expenditures. And so I take a look at that. I make sure that I have been told any of our high expenditures. This money that I'm investing is with our Virginia Investment Pool. A lot of treasurers utilize that, and right now I am earning 4.49 on the return of our monies. If something comes up and we have a large bill, I'll take a look at the bank accounts. If I need to pull money, it's immediate. I can pull it in by 2:00 p.m. and it's in our account by 5. So it's money that's accessible. It's not like I gotta know 4 weeks in advance. as long as I know by 2 o'clock that day, I can move that money back into the bank. So I know that's a lot. Is there any questions?
I thank you
Why are
for the
you
report.
smiling at me, Councilman
Well,
McLemore?
one is, I'd like to know, since Ms. Bertram, and you made that investment, because you spoke in terms of weeks, and you mentioned percentages. How much have we earned on that $15 million investment since you made it?
A little over 600,000.
Okay. And I have to get better familiar with idle money, idle funds, because I'm under the impression when we have outstanding debts, if we paid down those debts, we would owe less interest on those debts. So I don't understand how we have excess money that we can afford to invest as long as we have outstanding debts.
You also have to know that you have to make sure that you are, have money set aside for future payments. So those payments may not be coming due yet, and so that money has to sit there. What I'm saying is, I'm making our money work for us.
I understand the concept of investment. And I wish you would have documented the 600,000 that we have made since we began this endeavor. However, again, my issue is if we owe somebody $15 million that we've borrowed, yes, we have monies that we have supposedly set aside to make those payments. However, if we took that 15 million that we're calling idle and paid on that debt, then that debt would be less, and we would incur less interest on that debt that we're paying as long as the debt is outstanding.
I understand what you're
Can I
saying.
can I ask a follow-up question to your question? And I'm not a finance guy. You and I have talked about this, city manager and I have talked about this. But isn't this money, when you say idle money, it's money that's going to be used during the year
Right.
to buy a new police car, to pay
It's part of the
Dominion
budget.
Power.
Right.
It's not money that's just extra money at the end of the year. It's ongoing money that's we don't need it this month, we might need it next month.
Correct.
Okay.
And when I say that, it's money that's not needed immediately. It's going to be needed. It's going to be paying debt off, yes, but it's not money that needs to be used today. That's why I look out at it. So it's not money that you don't want to put your everything in one, as used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to protect your investments, but you also have to be ready to pay your debt when it comes due. I'm saying, when I call idle money, you know, maybe somebody doesn't like that terminology. We typically use that because it's money not needed today. May not be needed when we pay this accounts payable this week, but it is money that is going to be utilized in the near future. If Ms. Oglesby wants to reiterate anything that I've said, am I point on that? So,
As the mayor was alluding to, it's money that when we have it coming in, there is certain things that we may have payments that are due, and those payments may not happen until, let's say, second quarter or third quarter, or towards the end of the year. What we do is cities try to invest that money to generate some other type of revenue to diversify what you have coming in to alleviate the burden onto the general fund. So for instance, we know that we are in agreement with the Western Tidewater Regional Jail. We pay that twice a year. That's what the contract says. We pay it at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we pay it towards the end of the fiscal year. So instead of having the second half of that payment just sitting there and not earning any interest, we put it and invested in something so that the city can generate other type of revenue, and when that money is paid and doable, it's pulled down and it's paid. And the money that we have generated that year off of investments does one or two things. If the city has budgeted any type of fund balance to help balance the budget, then instead of pulling that money out of the fund balance, sometimes you would use that revenue because you're saying, we generated X amount of interest on that money. We plan to use X out of the fund balance. We wound up not having to move that money out of the fund balance because we had this unexpected revenue come in. Or as you're developing your budget for next year, you look and you say, okay, we have this money. This is one-time money that we brought in that we can put towards one-time expenditure to help alleviate, again, having to pull anything out of your fund balance to cover that one-time expenditure in the ensuing fiscal year.
For example, this is a question, it sounds like a statement, but it's really a question, because I don't know that I'm confused, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. So I'm going to use an example when Congresswoman Kiggins had the $400,000 that was, if that was hard money coming into us at one time, that money was specific for the radio system. We couldn't spend it for anything else, but we put it in that, in theory, that money would have gone into this. No,
Don't
okay.
mix apples and oranges. That's a grant, and then there's federal money, so I make it a little bit more simpler.
Okay.
So say, for instance, we all set budgets for our own household, and we plan a certain expenditure to go out later in the year, but we're putting money into an account that's gonna earn some interest, knowing that, let's say that we budgeted for a trip that we know we're not gonna take until August. So the money is sitting inside of an account earning interest for us until we have to pay for those expenses for that trip. So that's about as plain as I can make it.
It's not extra money. It's not extra
It's
money
not
that we
extra
could
money.
pay on a
Right.
loan, or,
Right.
and most of our loans are at lower interest than this for.
My,
One of them, yes, they are.
Yeah.
So,
using your scenario of we have a household budget, we budgeted for a trip. The trip is not until August. So instead of having that money sit in our bank account till August, you're saying we take that money and we invest it to make additional monies. I'm saying that meanwhile, we have mortgage payments that we're paying interest on based on the length of time that if you pay it off early, you pay less interest. So therefore, we can take that money and invest it and try to make some money on it. Or we can take that money, instead of waiting till August, and pay towards the debts that we have so that we don't incur so much interest on that debt. Because that debt is existing, it's not going anywhere until it's paid off. So therefore, if we take that money that we were gonna use for the vacation and pay down the mortgage, then we get to pay less on that mortgage.
But we wouldn't have the money for the trip.
We wouldn't have the money for the trip, but we would be paying off the debt that we have.
But if you're gonna go on the trip anyway, you'd have the expense of it.
And also,
I
too,
think.
you gotta
I mean,
remember the cash flow. So it's
Yes.
not just your mortgage, you have a car payment, you have credit card payments, you have all of these things that you are budgeting for. And if you take all of your money that you have in your savings and put it to one thing, then you may find yourself in a situation where, as the mayor said, you can't make those payments. What if there is an emergency that happens that you may have to shift some of your money from your savings in order to address that? So this investment allows us, again, to generate some money too, but also it is just money that we plan or that we're planning to spend this year based off of our known income that we have coming in, meaning your real estate, your property tax, all those fees and stuff that you charge, that you're saying, okay, I have this on hand, I know I'm not gonna pay it until later, but let me invest it, but you would not take for cash flow reasons, because you have all these other expenditures that has to happen, and take and put it to something to pay it off. And then you also have to remember, when you borrow these monies, some of these funds come with a penalty if you try to pay it off early. So you have to pay according to that schedule until you get to where you're beyond that penalty aspect that you could be charged. And then you go back and you evaluate, okay, we're beyond that. Is there a way to pay off X early enough, given all and taking into account all your other expenditures that have to happen for that year?
Maybe I should have said, first of all, I am not against investing. I think it's a good way to, obviously, with this VIP program, we can use our money whenever we want, and it's made us a substantial amount of return on our investment. So I'm all for making money. All I'm concerned with is the number 15 million. I want to say, and you should be able to answer this, Ms. Oglesby, how many million do we owe on these bonds that we borrowed as a result of Davenport?
I don't have the number offhand, but I can get it for you.
Approximately.
I'll provide you the number.
Well,
So
where
I'm thinking that the number is something like 15 million that we borrowed over the last few years.
You have debt going back years.
No, I'm
so-
talking about in the last few years, because one year we borrowed 8 million, and another year we borrowed about 7 million in the last couple of years. So with you not being able to give us an approximate number, I'm thinking that we owe something like 15 million that we borrowed in just the last couple of years.
but we borrow that money at an interest rate lower than our guaranteed amount?
For
But I
sure.
do remember it is less, but again, as Ms. City Manager Oglesby alluded to, you have to protect your cash flow. What I am saying is, we're protecting the cash flow by putting it in something where it's gonna draw us some more income. But it is not deemed at this point to be able to pay any of those bond payments. Payments are spread out over the years, but you've got to protect your cash flow. Because we don't know what some expenditure may come up. So what we're just saying is, we're protecting the city's cash flow by taking a proportion of it and making it work for us, instead of it just sitting there not doing its job.
And it's a fluid amount, right? You can put money in,
Yes.
take money out, put money in, take money out.
Absolutely.
As necessary.
I can do it every
Well,
day.
As the mayor said, I'm no expert on books. I'm not an accountant. It just seems to me, I'm trying to think from the way or perspective that my constituents might think of it. A lot of them aren't accountants either. And when you have money, and like you said, maybe that money, that phrase idle money or idle funds is a little deceiving or whatever. But if we have 15 million, if I have 15 million to invest, I have 15 million that I can pay you the money I owe you. That's kind of simple.
But again, you have to protect your cash flow, so your future bills that are gonna come due, you have the flexibility to make sure that you're able to pay those bills as well.
If we paid the 15 million out, we wouldn't be able to pay Dominion
Right.
our electric bill.
You'd be cutting into your cash flow.
No, but we have money budgeted for those bills.
But that's part of the 15 million.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, now I'm going to go to one of the final things. As you can see, personal property 2017 is what I'm going to be requesting for the city council member to approve, for me to charge off. I think this will come to you at a later date, not just in my presentation, but I wanted you to be aware of this for 2017. Based on the state code 3940, I am required by law to charge off anything that is considered beyond statute of limitations, where I cannot go after them. and that is going to be $23,059.65. The final page is also the ones that I'm going to be, and there's some of that is the way our software is. Some of it may be dual. They may be deceased in that charge off of the 2017, but you have to do it separate the way our software does. So of the deceased, and this is anything that's on the books now, 17 to current that are deceased, we're taking them off the books for $16,225.
How much?
16,200. It's in your packet as well.
I got out of place.
Okay. And so that is my report for this year. As you will see, I broke it down to personal property, real estate, business license, meals tax, and lodging, and that brought the total to $496,120. So that's what my presentation for this year.
Thank you.
And that is from January 1 of 2024 to December 31st, 2024.
Anybody else have any questions, Ms. Babb? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And
Thank you.
thank you to your staff.
I will. Thank you very much.
They're always very pleasant.
Mayor, I can answer the question about how much debt we have.
Okay.
So as of, this was a report as of June 30th of '24, you had about 41 million in debt.
That's over how long a period?
This is coming from 2013 and coming forward.
Right, 2013. But when did what was the last two drawdowns we had?
Not drawdowns, the last two, the most recent, or that includes the most recent loan that you all did, or issuance that you all did back in December.
I'm saying, like, how much did we I know one loan we got was 8 million, I think, and one, I want to say 7 million.
So you have the issuance and the money that is sitting there waiting for those projects to start.
Okay, we borrowed money,
So yes.
yeah, but we had 15 million. It was idle.
It's not really idle, though.
Well, then don't call it idle.
Well, it's just the wrong,
I mean, what is it?
part of our cash flow.
Our books are great, forgive me. I didn't understand, but it seems our money's right. Our money's great.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to tell you this, but we're getting ready to go into closed session. So do I have a motion for the city council to convene a closed session? Very front. Very first thing, behind the red tab. Said the colorblind man.
Yeah.
And at the very first, go ahead, go ahead. We got it over here.
The agenda.
Yeah, we got it. That's great.
It's not that.
I move that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia convene to a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A-1. A, for the purpose of discussion, consideration of interviews of prospective candidates for appointment to the City of Franklin School Board, and B, for the purpose of discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment.
Do I have a motion? Second, have a second? All signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And I.
And aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to tell you, but we have to close the doors and everybody's got to step out, and then we'll, as soon as we're finished, we'll let you back in for our regular meeting.
Will it stay on?
Yeah, mine will stay on and the city manager will stay on, okay. I will now entertain a motion that City Council of Franklin, Virginia convene an open meeting.
Pursuant to the requirements of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712, I move that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia reconvene the open meeting.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye, starting with Dr. Johnson?
I certify.
We're just yesing, we're eyeing right now.
Aye.
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 Microphone. Go ahead, do it again if you would.
Aye.
Okay, all right,
Mayor, you gotta say
and aye, I'm sorry. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Everybody voted? Okay. Any member of the public body believes there was departure from the requirements of clauses I and double I?
it needs to read certification.
Reader certification, I'm sorry.
I move that each council member certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Any member of the public body who believes that there was a departure of requirements of clauses I and double I shall so state prior to vote, indicating the substance of the departure in his or her judgment had taken place. That statement shall be recorded in the minutes of the public body. Take a roll call for certification. Starting with Dr. Johnson.
I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
Certify. I certify.
I certify.
And I certify. Do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the work session is now adjourned. All right. Being a smidge after 7, I call to order the regular city council meeting. Conduct a roll call. I'll conduct a roll by calling names. Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Kitchen?
Present.
Present.
Banks?
Present.
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 And present, okay. We've left it out, but I guess we're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. All those who can stand, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now I ask again, please let the will of the people be heard. And I close expressing my sincere condolences to Mr. Phelps and his family. I promise you are all in so many people's thoughts and prayers. Thank you so much for being able to be here tonight and support our principal at Franklin High School. And I'm proud to be a Bronco. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
May
you.
I make a statement before you call them?
Yes, you may.
For anybody that is watching this online, the system has went down and we're working to get it back up.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Audrey Lee?
I had to change my appearance a little bit tonight because I know y'all probably as tired of looking at me as I am of looking at y'all with the same thing. So, to say this to you guys, I feel like that y'all need to do like the President of the United States, but on a local level. Maybe do some type of amendments to these laws that y'all have, because y'all are handling all the taxpayers' funds. And I really don't appreciate the fact that you don't have any more authority than what you have as far as the principals and the school board. And I know that y'all have received, and if you haven't, I can give it to you, a lot of damaging information pertaining to the school board and to Dr. Carter. So I'm asking that y'all please hurry up and do something before this community is damaged. We have come together, like they said, Jim said earlier, but you know, we're causing a big problem. There are people all over the country that are watching us. And a lot of people can't understand how we are allowing this in this city, how we're allowing people, a man who's had all of this time in the school system, to be thrown to the side. So I'm asking you, make some executive orders, please. Can y'all please do some executive orders and make things happen for Mr. Phelps? Because the community wants him back in his position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Carrie Johnson.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Johnson, 205 Cypress Avenue, Franklin, Virginia. I don't have anything scripted this evening. I've been a little preoccupied past few days or so. The first thing that comes to mind is the phrase, silence is golden. It came to my attention that a member or certain members of the board seems to think that pretty soon we are going to be quiet. And I'm choosing to stay silent on that matter and bite my tongue. And in response to them thinking that we're going to back down from that. Instead, this evening, I'm going to go ahead and respond to some things that they said in the school board meeting that you all attended with us last week, to explain some of the things that they said and to share a little bit about my history as a Bronco. I came to Franklin when I started high school. I met my husband. He was my first boyfriend, and now we're married, and all of our children are Broncos, but my daughter left S.P. Martin Elementary School in 3rd grade because she was relentlessly bullied and physically assaulted and left with marks on her body, and the elementary school did nothing at the time. So we pulled her, and she went to private school from 3rd grade all the way until 9th grade. 9th grade was the lovely COVID year. 10th grade, she finally had a chance to return to Franklin High School, and she went there because she felt safe, because she knew that Travis was there, Mr. Phelps. He's been a staple in our community. So she knew that she could return to Franklin High School and graduate as a Bronco as the rest of her family. But she was one of those ones that had to retake SOLs multiple times, not because she didn't learn what she needed to in her private school, but because they taught it differently and they didn't hit on the same standards that are tested on SOLs. She graduated with her associate's degree before she graduated with her high school diploma. She graduated as an honor graduate. She was accepted into the Perry's Honor College at Old Dominion University, where she's doing very well. And she was one of those ones who had to take it multiple times. She was never made to feel bad. She was welcomed back by Travis and his staff. And not only did she have to take multiple tests over again, but Mr. Macklemore, I spoke with you, she also received one of those locally verified credits for biology. She's not a failure, neither is Franklin. And I think it's about time that we did something to bring him back. Not much of a spiritual person, but there's one phrase or one verse that comes to me, and it's Jeremiah 29:11, and that is, for I know the plans that I have made for you. And I think God took Travis out of the school just in time, but I think by the end of the year, we need to have him back. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Regina Hill.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Regina Hill. I'm from 105 Scott Street. I have a question, actually 2 questions. We got up, we say the Pledge of Allegiance every time we get in the building. And my question is, we say the pledge, but the teachers are afraid to come up and boast their opinion. So how are they protected? Okay, let's go to the end of the pledge. At the end of the pledge, it says that for justice for all. There is no justice when you can't get up and say how you feel. That's not justice. Okay? My second thing is, again, I told you I'm from Isle of Wight. I watched Isle of Wight do something in dedication for Mr. Phelps, and I waited. and waited for the city of Franklin. So I had to ask them, I said, well, how long has he been a teacher or a partaker of the school system? And they said over 20-some years. And then this guy here says 50-some years, the family, and you mean to tell me the city didn't do anything? And we are a city, a family, and we didn't do nothing. I asked my granddaughter, did they give y'all counseling? They said, well, they told me it was, but how? Because it should have been public. Something should have been sent to the family. The children's family. We should have did meetings. We should have met at the school. Because Mr. Phelps' family knows the kids. His wife fed some of these kids. They've been to their homes. We did absolutely nothing. And we're talking about the kids are failing. No, we failing. We're failing. So I don't know if I need to bring this question to you guys or to the school board, but what are we doing? I mean, for real, because I waited. And I see how Smithfield react just like that. But we didn't do nothing. And this man served. What about his servitude? What about, I heard people talk about his late night stand, his early morning going. We did nothing. And so, again, I don't know who I need to bring this question to, but it needs to be addressed. If we are a family, if we are a community, then we have to support one another. So my question to you, if this was one of your families, how would you expect the city to react? Would you expect the city to react to you, to any of you, the school board, myself? I said, if I was in the school system this long and they didn't do nothing, listen, that would have been really hurtful mentally, and the fact that he still have kids in the school system. We fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. And as we've said at each one of these meetings, we can't comment at this point, but we can later in the meeting. That being the end of citizens' time, we have the consent agenda. Before you is the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to move to the regular agenda for discussion?
I'd like to move an item to the new business, city council, reference school board.
You want to remove item A from the consent agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
A second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Dr. Johnson?
Wait a minute.
I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
Actually, that doesn't need a
we don't-
discussion. All he has to say is, I want to remove the
Okay,
item from the
and it's
agenda.
done,
That's-
okay? So now we don't approve this, approve the.
Item A
I'd
come
re-
up after the
okay.
consent agenda.
So we're removing item A from the consent agenda, and all other items will remain. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Signify by saying aye. Dr. Johnson, start.
Aye.
Aye.
What's that third one?
Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Please use the microphone. Yeah,
Abstain.
okay.
That's a first.
Okay. You had to ask me. That's pretty bad. All right. So, I guess we need a, do we need? Aye, I'm sorry. And,
Now you defer back to Mr. Kitchen because he removed item A.
okay, Mr. Kitchen, you want to discuss this item? Bring this item up? No, hold on.
I'm sorry.
What's his next step? Sorry.
He needs to make the recommendation to amend the budget to add.
Amend the
an item-
agenda.
Agenda.
To amend
Amended.
to amend the agenda to add the item.
Okay.
I make the motion to amend the agenda to bring the item of the school board forward.
A second.
Let me help you and reinstate what you want to do. You want to amend the agenda to add an item under new business, under section B, an item submitted by the council to talk about the Franklin School Board.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? Do we have to vote on this?
You do, but there was one other piece we needed to do too.
Okay,
Because you already discussed under close, the first item, under the closed session, section 4.
Oh, we need
you want
to take
remove
that-
Item A. So
Okay.
you're doing two things, adding an item.
so
under-
I want a motion to remove, I'm sorry, out of closed session, item A. Item A from closed session. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All right. Discussion? No discussion? Let's start with Dr. Johnson.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. All right. Now we go back to the rest of the consent agenda. I'm so sorry.
You just approved the consent agenda. So now we're on the city manager's report.
Thank you. City manager's report. Put it in the professionals' hands.
Okay, the first item that you have before you is an ordinance to amend City Codes Chapter 8-15, Electric Utility, Chapter 13-16, Garbage and Refuse, and Chapter 30-20, Water, Sewer, and Sewage Disposal pertaining to the utility bill extension. We have talked about this before with City Council, where you all requested to do a couple of things. One, to maybe possibly look at changing the due date, which I asked council to give me a little bit of time because I needed to assess the process on how things are doing. So one of the other things that we requested was because right now in the current code does not give the city manager authority to put extensions in place. And this would allow those extensions to be put in place. This extension would be due only when it affects all customers, not for an individual account. For someone, say for instance, I can't pay my bill. That is not what this is for. This is in instances where, let's say we have a hard time getting the bills out to the consumer, so therefore that is what this extension would allow. But this isn't done for long periods of time. And also too, just to make note, as in written down here on the document, we have to take into mind that whenever we keep doing these extensions, it also affects those utilities' cash flow to an extent.
Correct. Okay. Do I, city manager presented ordinance approving city code amendments to chapter 8-15, chapter 13-16, and chapter 30-24 pertaining to utility bill extension. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
We talked about,
Microphone.
we talked about some seniors not receiving, their, checks by the 20th and so forth. Did we ever get that straight?
You talking about the bill, not getting their bills?
Yes.
Yes, that's what this is in reference to. So it would give when the billing is late, then, and it's across the board, we can.
The city manager
the city manager has
could give an
authority
extension.
to give an extension, yes.
Okay.
And the extension would not be individuals, it'd be a blanket extension for all citizens.
Okay.
All customers, I should say. All right. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none. Do I have we can call for the vote? Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. All right. City manager?
Okay, the next item that is on the agenda is for the Bon Secours Mercy Health 2025 bond issuance. If you all remember back on January 16th, we had a discussion regarding Bon Secours needing to go out for some bonds to do some updates to some of their facilities as required by law. Whenever they have a facility that is being operated in a locality, that locality has to approve it. You all agreed to allow Henrico County Economic Development Authority to hold that public hearing on your behalf. So tonight, this is just your concurrence to allow Bon Secours Mercy, Inc. to work with the Economic Development Authority to issue those bonds. This does not obligate the city of Franklin to anything. We will not have any payments related to this. So therefore, there is no monetary impact to us. This is not a liability for us to carry on our books. And I believe you have two people here in related to this matter if council has any questions.
Please come forward. We're not always this stumbly as we are tonight.
Hi, good evening. I'm Brittany Simmons. I am with Dinsmore and Scholl, and we're serving as bond counsel for the transaction. I have here with me John Haynes. He's with Bon Secours. Yes, yes. Did you catch that, or would you like me to repeat it?
Repeat it, please.
Okay, yes, I'm Brittany Simmons. I'm with the law firm Dinsmore and Scholl, and we're serving as bond counsel for the transaction. I have here with me John Haynes. He's the CFO of Bon Secours, and I can briefly go over the summary of the bonds if you would like, if you have any questions.
Did you have a presentation planned, or did you want to just give us the footnotes?
I
the
do not
cliff
have a
notes, I
presenta-
mean, not footnotes.
I can sort of go over the summary about the transaction, the bond transaction itself. Bon Secours is a 501c3 nonprofit health system with facilities in the Richmond market and the Hampton Roads market, including a Southampton Medical Center. We had a public hearing on February 20th, and notice of this hearing was published in the Daily Press. And so, as she said, that as conduit revenue bonds, the debt service on bonds is secured only by the funds and revenues of Bon Secours and will not constitute debt or general obligations of any political subdivisions, including the City of Franklin or the City Council of Franklin. The portion of the bonds allocated to Southampton Medical Center is estimated to not exceed $15 million and includes capital projects going back 3 years and going forward 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you have any questions on the capital projects, we're happy to.
Can you give us an idea what kind of projects we're working with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you're
So-
working with?
That's all right, real quick. So I'm John Haynes. I'm the market CFO for Hampton Roads of Bon Secours. As Brittany said, the $15 million. Just to give you guys a little context and information, so Southampton employs approximately 260 employees. It does pay about $23 million annually in salary, wages, and benefits, and the hospital sees about 35,000 patients per year. Of the $15 million that's being requested, the retro portion of that is approximately $7 million, so about 47%. With that money, the refinancing piece of that, we did work on our OR HVAC system, so just addressing some humidity, just bringing that up to standards. We put in about $1.5 million in upgraded monitoring systems to provide more improved, modernized patient monitoring, obviously. Nurse call system, upgrade, modernize that. A NukeMed camera, we redid the x-ray room, and then some other smaller projects, and then some aesthetic things like roof replacements and those things. For the $8 million at current, we do not have any specific strategic items identified for that, but we are reserving that up to as we just continue consistently to progress through what our strategies look like as a market as a whole. So that is pretty much the extent of my comments. I hope that was clear, or any questions?
So, what is the aim and purpose for the $8 million?
Yes, that's what the bond is requesting up to $15 million. We've not identified specific items for that. As I was saying, we're working through those strategic priorities. So really, every year upgrading our strategic project, evaluating opportunities. So we just want to have that reserved as we process through that if we identify some things. We also potentially will use some of that for infrastructure projects and items as they come up in the current year that have yet to be identified.
Okay, so basically, it's just money that would be used for projects that would come up arbitrarily?
Yes, sir. Some
Okay.
of those, what I would call, just general maintenance
Okay.
and, but also potentially strategic.
Ms. Copeland, you have something?
How many, did you say 35,000?
35,000 patients annually is what we see.
For Southampton,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
you know, I just want to say, I spent a week in your ICU during COVID, and I couldn't have gotten better treatment.
Appreciate that
I-
comment.
I really think they saved my life, so
I'll pass that
I
on.
appreciate that. Any other?
Did I understand correctly? The 8 million is for the entire Hampton Roads region, Bon Secours, or just for the Southampton?
This is identified specifically for Southampton.
Okay.
So I will call, it is an up to, not an obligation to spend that, but
The money would be there if we needed it,
yes, sir.
or if the hospital needed it. Mr. Grizzle, you've taken a lot of patients there. Do you have any?
No comment.
Okay.
Again, the city of Franklin, 35,000 patients a year?
That hospital annually sees 35,000 patients.
So that's 35,000 patient events.
Yeah, sorry, yes, good clarification, not distinct people. It is visits. So if you show up 5 times, you will, I should say visits.
Yeah, I had 2 cataract surgeries 2 weeks apart, so that's two visits.
Yeah.
I counted twice. All right. Anybody else? Okay. City manager, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. City manager presented a resolution expressing the concurrence of the Franklin City Council with the inducement resolution adopted by the Economic Development Authority of Henrico County, Virginia, approving the issuance of revenue bonds for the benefit of Bon Secours Mercy Health Incorporated and Southampton Medical Center. Do I have a motion to approve? Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay. Start with the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you so much for coming.
The last item that you have before you on the city manager report is to accept a donation from Bronco Federal Credit Union. They donated $3,000 in support of the Spring Fest, Juneteenth celebration, and Independence Day fireworks. And each one of these events would get $1,000 apiece.
Okay. You've heard the presentation from the city manager. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. Okay. And we move on to new business. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Boards and commissions. Any reports from boards and commissions? Dr. Johnson, down the end?
We just had our budget meeting, basically, and we'll let you know how
For the
that
jail,
went.
for Western
Yes,
Tidewater? Okay.
yes, for Western Tidewater.
Anybody
Our
else?
annual budget.
Okay. Council comments. All right. Did you have an additional comment? Any additional comments?
No.
All right. Mr. Kitchen? Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry.
I would just like to personally extend my condolences to the Phelps family. I did attend the candlelight vigil for Mrs. Phelps on Saturday. And also, I would like to announce that Ward 5's Neighborhood Watch meeting is on March 19th, 5:30 p.m. at the Dr. Martin Luther King Center, and Commissioner of the Revenue Boone will be the guest speaker.
Very good, thank you. And we're going to Mr. Kitchen?
Thank you, Mayor. This city is on a state of crisis. I, along with you, Mayor, and Major Drury from the Sheriff's Office, spent decades trying to keep the peace, talk people down who are angry, avoid violence, avoid vandalism. We are on edge. 5 weeks of ignoring the citizens, hiding behind the law and telling us all this will pass over in a couple of weeks, in my opinion, is very irresponsible and anything but transparent. So far, there's only one board member who has had the intestinal fortitude to listen to the citizens and answer questions. As far as the other 6, doesn't matter to me if they're reelected, reappointed, whatever happens to them. But I'm making a motion to ask Mr. Holt, the chairman, to step down from his position as chairman of the school board. Thank you.
And I second.
There's been a motion and a second to ask Mr. Holt to step down from the board, school board? It's from the school board or from his position as?
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Can't do that now.
No.
Right order, I'm sorry.
At this point, what you all could consider is writing a letter to Mr. Holt, asking him to do just that and make a decision as to whether or not you want the mayor to sign it or you all sign that letter as a body.
All right, we can do that through consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it needs to be clarified also that we can't make motions that should be done by an amendment to the agenda during council comments.
Correct.
That's the part of the agenda that we're on, council comments. And it's perfectly fine to make that comment, but you can't make an emotion to take a vote on something at the time of the
You're correct.
agenda.
You all can suspend Robert's rules since the issue has already come forward and manage it now, or you can wait. It's totally up to you.
Do I need a motion to suspend Robert's rules?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
You're funny.
Any
Second.
further discussion? I got a second.
I didn't hear what Mr. Johnson said. Nay. Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes. Aye, and aye. Thank you very much.
Now, what does that mean?
That means that the Robert's rules is suspended, so therefore you all can go into discussion about what Mr. Kitchen just said.
Okay. We can do a discussion on it, but not have a discussion.
Maybe also possibly take a vote.
Yeah,
if you would
yeah.
like.
Okay.
She said we can vote on
All right. Ms. Kitchen?
I have stated my case.
So I make a motion that we send a letter to the school board asking the removal of the school board chair, Robert Holt. I also would like to include that not only the mayor signs it, but everybody who is in agreement with this decision puts their name on it so that it can be recorded and documented that we are standing in agreement with that.
And I second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Go ahead.
Does legal have anything to weigh in about the removal of a school board member after they've been appointed?
So my understanding of the motion, Ms. Banks.
Not of the motion, but of, the motion is clear.
That we send a
But
letter.
what we are asking to do, can we legally do that and be within Virginia code?
So my understanding is you all are making a request through a letter.
That's my understanding. We're not demanding, we're not removing, we're making a request
Through a letter.
to do so, through a letter, signed by everybody on city council who is in agreement,
Correct.
okay? If somebody's
Just for
not
the
in agreement,
record,
they don't have-
just for
I'm
the
sorry.
record, I never voted for him.
So are we good to go with that motion legally?
Okay, all right. So, any other further discussion? Uncharted territory. Ms. Banks? I mean, Ms. Copeland, did you have something else? Every time you go for your mic, I think you're getting ready to say something. All right, Dr. Johnson? You can't, you're out of order, I'm sorry, you can't.
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay, go. Mr. Kitchen?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. Okay. Going back to council comments, did you have anything else, Mr. Kitchen?
No.
All right, Ms. Banks?
Just want to say my heartfelt condolences goes out to the Phelps family, the Franklin High School family, all of those who knew Mrs. Phelps. Our community is hurting. We are trying, we hear every voice, comment, text, and sometimes it will make you an unpopular person, and I get it, but I am happy to know that people are still allowing their voices to be heard because you are citizens, you pay your taxes just like the next, so you are entitled to your opinion and to advocate on what you believe is right. We as a council, I know the majority of us, I can speak for, I think, and say that we are doing the best that we absolutely can to help out in this situation. And we thank you all for your patience and everything that you are doing. Keep on advocating.
Comments?
My comments are a little bit of a different nature. I would like to remind my colleagues as well as the citizens in the audience and at home, I am requesting as diligently as I can for us to begin having town hall meetings. Give the citizens an opportunity to have interaction with their council. We haven't had a town hall meeting in well over a year. And I said at the last one, before we leave here tonight, we should set a date for the next one. It never came about. In fact, I want to say it's been more than 2 years. The last one was with Frank Rabel when he was the mayor. So I can't express strongly enough how I think the citizens deserve, at least biannually, if not quarterly, a town hall meeting so things like this school board situation can be addressed in a town hall environment so that we can act on what the people want. So I want to use my council comment to express, I hope that this body will take having a town hall meetings seriously and schedule one as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. I don't disagree. It's not my turn yet. Go ahead. Mr. Grizzard?
I'd just like to say also that our condolences are with Travis Phelps' family wholeheartedly. It was a devastating blow for all of us. I again would also agree with Mr. McLemore that we do need to have these town hall meetings, and I think the sooner the better. I would love to say that I'm standing up here, or sitting up here, actually, to do what you all want done, not a personal agenda for me.
Thank you. First of all, I want to address comment that we should be doing more. And I can tell you, if the law allowed it, a lot more would be done, I believe, by this council. I know personally that's where I feel. But we have to stay within the law. We can't afford a lawsuit. We can't afford legal action more than what we're doing. I think we would have done a lot more, a lot sooner. I will mention that once we have an elected school board, should that be the will of the people, that it will be even more difficult if things are happening that we don't like the way they're happening. So there's give and take to I've signed the petition and I'm going to vote for it, but I'll tell you, a friend, I'm going to vote for it. But I do have mixed feelings because I know that an elected school board can feel very empowered and put their feet in the sand just like an appointed school board. In the comment for nothing been done for the Phelps family, I know that several of us have personally been involved with the Phelps family since almost the moment we got the news that Kristen had passed away in the accident. The two of them were dear friends of mine and other members of this council. And while I never went to Franklin High School as a student, I worked there for 9 years with the police department, and Mr. Phelps and I built a relationship, and I was lucky enough, or he was unlucky enough, I don't know how to say this, when he came to Franklin to student teach from Virginia Tech, he couldn't teach for the first 2 weeks because I was in every one of his classrooms teaching DARE. And my schedule and his schedule just matched again. That's when I I knew his parents, but that's how I really became acquainted with him. So number of us went to the vigil. I think we thought it was the school systems that should have done something here and not the city council. But this is our first meeting since that event's happened, and I wish we had thought about it. We didn't. And for Mr. McLemore's comment about town hall meetings, I think they're an excellent idea. Mr. Kitchen's I know he's personally been working on them. Ms. Copeland almost has a town hall meeting by doing her neighborhood watch meetings, and as does Mr. Kitchen in his ward by ward. And I know we're all doing things in our wards, but we need to get advertised and set an agenda for town hall meetings, whether we decide to do them ward by ward or for the whole city at one time. I don't know the best way to do that. I'm admittedly new in my job, and I think I'm up to 60-some days. It's a job that it takes some learning curve. Mr. McLemore and I talked about that earlier, sometime last week. So those are the comments that I have. Anybody else have anything else? Ms. Banks?
Really quick, I just want to say I had wrote down a whole paragraph and I didn't say any of it, but I do want to just highlight this top portion of my paragraph. As a leader of this community, it is important for me tonight to express how mandatory it is for citizens to vote. Our votes put people in place that could possibly advocate, work, and approve items for this city. I'm happy to see citizens advocating for what they desire and allowing their voices to be heard. This position on council, I get out, vote, and if you want to see change, also you have the right to run, campaign for these positions as well. So I just want to encourage you to vote, stay abreast with the city, and the next time you feel like you want change, when one of our seats are up, please do that and continue to advocate.
I'd like to add that I've always had a slogan: don't complain, campaign, and hold your elected officials accountable. In regards to the ward meetings versus the town hall meetings, being here close to 14 years, there was times in my first 2-3 years, I used to have ward meetings. But I'll challenge anyone who has had one since then to say they've got 20% of their registered voters to come to a meeting. You might have 15, 20 people from a ward that show up to those meetings. Might even have 30, but how many people are in your ward? So that's why I call for town hall meetings. When you get citywide, when you get people from every ward together, they may bring up points that the other person says, I didn't think about that, but you're right. So ward meetings are fine, but I think we need town hall meetings where everybody has an opportunity, because we live on different parts of this city. And what we vote on up here affects the entire city and not just our wards. So what I would encourage also people to participate and in those town hall meetings, they give you a chance to become educated citizens. You know what's going on. People go out and vote on people on popularity contests. That vote doesn't guarantee you're going to get the best person for the position. It just means that more people voted for that individual. So I ask that the lawyer tonight said suspending or recommended or said we could suspend Robert's Rule of Order. I think this is something also we might want to suspend him on and take a motion or a vote that we are going to have a town hall meeting instead of letting it get swept down the road. So I'll ask a consensus from my colleagues that if the city manager will look at some dates so that she can bring before us at the next council meeting, that we can select a date and notify the public so that they can come out and participate.
Ms. Oglesby?
I
just want to let you know you are already still under the suspension that you did earlier with the
Oh,
Robert's
we need to
rules.
come out of
You never
that.
came out of that.
Sorry. So we'll have a motion to return to Robert's Rules of Order.
Did we get a consensus to have a date?
I think we have to come back into,
No, if you're going to take a vote while you're suspended, do that first before you
okay.
come out.
Okay, all right. So let's do that. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that we vote for a date for a town hall meeting.
Can I just ask for, if you don't mind, a little bit more clarification, because I know we're getting ready to get into budget. Is there a specific time, like month or whatever, you all want to have these town hall meetings instead of just me randomly picking dates? You all know the month that you want to do it in.
Do you want to tie it into budget time where people can make comments about the budget, or since you mentioned budget?
That is up to council.
Right,
Right.
okay.
I agree with Mr. McLemore about the town hall meeting.
Press your button, please.
I agree with Mr. McLemore about the town hall meeting, but before we do that, council needs to have a retreat. The city council has not had a retreat in 2 years, basically. And a retreat is basically the city council getting together, getting on one page to get some things done, looking at the comprehensive plan of the city that needs to be done. We need to address that, the comprehensive plan. We need to do some more things that are vital to our city for growth and development. I believe in a town hall meeting, but we need a retreat also.
So I'm actually in opposite of that. I think that we need to hear what the citizens have to say so that we can come up with a comprehensive plan.
I agree.
Well, I'm just saying, a retreat.
We obviously need both.
Whenever, yes, we need
obviously
both.
But I personally don't disagree with Ms. Banks. I think if we could have the town hall meeting and then maybe have another one a few months out, based on our comprehensive plan and so forth. But I think we have a couple of issues right now that need people to have the opportunity to speak and be able to speak freely, and not in a constrained situation like we have here. All right? Okay. So did we get a motion? We didn't get a motion, did we?
He made
we did get a motion.
I just asked the minister.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you did.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, I think you wanted clarification of when you wanted to have a meeting. And if it is acceptable to my colleagues, we've been doing these meetings on Mondays, these special call meetings. And because of the urgency of the citizens' issues, like the school board and these things, I would move that we have a town hall meeting next Monday. I know it's quick. I don't necessarily want it, but if we put it off to the following Monday, do we have a meeting then? I think we have our regular meeting then.
Regular meeting then, correct.
Right. So a week would give us time to advertise. 2 weeks, I think, we back to our regular council meeting. So we'd have to go 3 weeks.
All right, we're talking the 17th.
The 24th is the next council meeting.
Right.
30, hold it, but we don't have a meeting that week. We don't have a meeting that week.
You adopted the calendar, which had up there for the 31st for me to do the budget
That's right.
presentation. And all it is the budget presentation.
Well, you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea to have that budget presentation as a part of the town hall meeting. Then the citizens
Well,
go
then
know.
that would be that's going to be a special city council meeting, isn't that correct? Ms. Oglesby, or just a presentation?
It is just a presentation.
Okay.
So the only thing we will have to take into consideration is that whatever facility that we select, it would be able to have recording capabilities and all of that so that the presentation can be recorded, for, just for our purposes, and then you can go into your town hall meeting. But that, like I said, that day is just for me to present the budget to you all. There wasn't gonna be a discussion. You all's gonna take your budget books later. I will schedule some time with you to do the one-on-ones before we actually have our very first public work session on the budget, but
Okay.
yes.
Could we do
31st.
6 o'clock for the budget, and then,
It is scheduled for 6
it's already scheduled, and then do a 7 o'clock for the town hall meeting? Do you think
Yes.
that would work?
Why not have them all in one? If the meeting, town hall meeting is at 6 o'clock, we can just do the budget portion first, if that's what you want to do.
Well, I hate
But
people
we have to
sit around.
advertise that the town hall meeting, the more people come, the better. If you say the town hall don't start till 7, then you're gonna have a lot of people who's gonna miss the budget portion. And it's, why shouldn't the citizens know what the budget presentation is?
Well, there's nothing wrong with the
I mean-
citizens. Certainly, the citizens should know, and that's why we have the other meetings. But I'm just thinking, if we specifically say that the town hall Q&A time is not going to happen until 7 o'clock, but you can certainly come for the budget presentation at 6. Would that work?
I mean, yes, the budget presentation probably won't take no more than 30 minutes. So
Okay.
you can actually set it for 6:30.
Okay.
The only thing that I caution is like I said, the facility has to have the capabilities of us to be able to record the meeting.
So we had looked at for other reasons, we had looked at the workforce center. I don't know what the capacity of that facility is. It's pretty good sized capacity. Certainly more than what we have here.
Why not have it here? Because we got it recorded, we can have it on. But the problem with TV is less people will come out, I think, if we
Well,
just,
true,
if
but
we
it
have
needs
it
to
on
be
TV.
recorded. I mean,
The only piece that needs to be recorded is the presentation
Okay.
of the budget. That's it.
So our audio, our technical people can make sure that happens, don't they?
Here, and then once I do the presentation and it's done, then you can move into your town hall, and they don't need to record that now unless you all
I mean,
want to
because
record that.
workforce,
I would suggest workforce because it's a neutral location.
I agree to workforce.
if it's available, I'm in favor of that. That's fine. Okay.
So the motion is modified to have the first town hall meeting on March 31st at, what time would y'all like?
6:30?
6:30 on March 31st, hopefully at the Workforce Development Center. But the location to be announced, that's the motion.
And we have a second, have modified second. Dr. Johnson, continue your second with the changes. Okay. Any further discussion? All right, call for the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you very much.
You gotta vote.
And now we're going to go back into Robert's Rules of Order. I'll take a motion.
You did vote, Daniel.
You didn't
I
vote.
voted.
Oh, you did.
I did vote that time, yes. And have a motion to go back into, to unsuspend Robert's Rules of Order.
So moved.
Second.
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 All right. All right. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 Aye. And aye. All right, we're back into Robert's Rules of Order. All right, and I think we're on to defer to the city manager for the report on pending items. Is that correct?
I don't know, did all of you all speak on the council comments?
Yes. Yes.
The item that I have under pending council was, I sent you all an email or put it as part of the executive brief. The ICMA, council training. This council training is self-paced, it's online. And the cost for this training for ICMA members is $895. For non-members, it's $995, but we would get it at the $895 because you have somebody that is a member, myself, of this organization. Like I said, this is for the entire council to be able to go through the training. I know that VML offers new council training, but although it says newly elected council members, it is open to everybody who wants to do a refresher to understand the council manager form of government. Going this route cuts back on travel. It cuts back on those related expenses, but this just allows you all to do this in the comfort of your own home to be able to do the training.
I think it's an excellent idea. All right, do we need a motion on that? Do we need a motion on that?
No, just if you all would like to do it, just send me an email letting me
Okay.
know.
We can have some discussion on it.
Certainly.
That's another $900 of the taxpayers' money when we already pay for that service with VML for free. It comes with the package for free.
But it costs us every time we drive back and forth.
Just, well, I don't know. I was never reimbursed. It just maybe cost me some gas. But to spend $900 of the taxpayers' money for training that we get for free from VML, I think is frivolous. That's one of those little expenses. $1,000 could do something more productive. If a citizen wants, now, if you said you're already a member, so you've already paid for it?
I am a member of ICMA, not this, I didn't pay for this training program.
Okay, so I just think that newly elected officials' training is offered to us. I know most everybody up here is taking it.
It hadn't been
it-
offered, it hadn't been offered since I've been,
And you and Mr. Grizzard are eligible to attend it.
right, in Roanoke.
So we don't have to spend another $900 just because we can.
Comments? Further comments? My comment is that I believe that the next training is in Roanoke, which means an overnight stay. It means mileage for the two of us to go back and forth.
Ride together.
I'm sorry. We could ride together, certainly ride together, but
I think there's another training coming up before Roanoke, because Roanoke is in October.
that's right.
There normally is another VML training.
Now, I think the more training, the better personally, but,
Yes.
and nothing I'd rather do, nothing I hate more than sitting at home and watching a video or interaction. But I think it would be good for us, personally. I'll go with the consensus.
Yeah, training is good.
Sounds good. I mean, $900 is $900, but that's a drop in the bucket to what we spend on other things.
Yeah, but aren't we custodians of the taxpayers' dollars? I mean, I don't know. I saw something in that, I think that same briefing, weekly briefing, something about replacing signs, street signs. Was that in that same one? About updating the older street signs.
Right, that was.
I know I saw something.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
make
in
this
there.
up.
Not with the training, but in the same
Yeah,
briefing.
in the same briefing.
Right.
$900 can probably buy some of those signs that we need to replace. You know, I don't like spending money unless we've got money coming in, because they're going to be things that we need. This is almost like a luxury. I agree. Training is imperative. But there are online courses, there are YouTube classes, there are YouTube videos. Anybody who has a desire to learn, they can learn without spending an additional $900. That's all I'm saying.
All right. A consensus, folks? Dr. Johnson?
I'm for training.
So that was a yes?
Yes.
Kitchen? No. No. Bank? No. No. I think we can stop right here because we've already gotten consensus. Okay. All right. We're going to closed session now? All right. I'll now entertain a motion. I'm sorry. I'll now entertain a motion for the City Council of Franklin, Virginia, convene a closed session. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Well, I think you have,
I move that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia convene to a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A-1 for the purpose of discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment.
Second.
Second. All right. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Aye.
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 And aye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. We encourage you to come and speak and to just join us for the meeting if you don't want to speak. Thank you so much for coming. I'll now entertain a motion that the City Council of Franklin, Virginia reconvene in open meeting. I have go for it.
Pursuant to the requirements of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712, I move that City Council of Franklin, Virginia reconvene to open meeting.
I have a motion, I have a second, I have a second. Any discussion? I'll take the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 And aye. Certification?
I move that each council member certify to the best of his or her knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
All right. Any member of the public body believes that there was a departure from the requirements of clauses 1 and 2 shall so state prior to vote, indicating the substance of the departure that his or her judgment had taken place. That statement should be recorded in the public body. Take a certification.
Certify.
Certified.
I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
And I certify. Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So, second.
And all in, and no discussion, I'm sure.
Aye.
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 Aye.